Hello everyone, I am Zhao Qiang. There is a girl from Jiangsu, Hubei. For love. She resolutely crossed the strait and embarked on a journey to Taiwan. She brought the bacon and salted duck eggs from her hometown and walked into a completely different living environment with trepidation and expectation. The difference in language, the collision of cultures, and the change in living habits have made her experience an unprecedented growth and transformation. Next, I will use the first person to tell the story of this girl's experience in Taiwan. I remember when I first came to Taiwan, I didn't know anything, just like a fool. It was 2014 and my husband met through my cousin. Coincidentally, my cousin was doing business in Wuhan and met Iwani's client, so she brought us together. The first meeting was in a tea house in Wuhan. I was very nervous for fear that I would not be able to speak and mess things up. I didn't expect this Taiwanese man to be so easygoing. He spoke Mandarin, which was not very standard, but very interesting. He said, yes, as she and like this, as Zhangzang, which made me want to laugh. Later I learned that this was typical Taiwanese Mandarin. After getting along for half a year, I felt that he had good character and compatible personalities, so we decided to get married. But my parents were worried. They kept talking about how far away home was. What if I was wrong? To be honest, I was also worried. After all, Taiwan was so far away from home. If I didn't live well, it would be difficult to come back. Before coming to Taiwan, I worked in a bank in Jiangsu and lived a comfortable life. On weekends, I would ask my sisters to go shopping in Wanda or go to the pedestrian street in Shaoxi. Life was pretty good. But people love to make trouble in this life. They always think that if they can have some different experiences, maybe life will be more interesting. Now think about it. I really made a name for myself. I was so worried when I was going through all the formalities. I had to go to Jiangsu several times to get a certificate of no criminal record. The police station staff only answered half a question and didn't care. Later, I had to go to Wuhan for an interview. I was so nervous I was afraid that I would say something wrong and ruin the visa. I remember that I wore a newly bought dress and light makeup on the day of the interview just to leave a good impression on others. As a result, the questions asked by the interview officer stumped me. He asked about my husband's birthday, how many brothers and sisters he had, and even asked which district he lived in Taipei. Fortunately, I had done my homework before, otherwise I would have been exposed. After finally completing all the formalities and getting the family-based visa, I cried my eyes out at Wuhan Airport. My parents sent me to the airport, and my mother kept telling me to be well there and called back if anything happened. My father didn't say anything but just smoked hard. I knew he couldn't bear to leave me. It was my first time to take a plane. I was so nervous. I flew from Wuhan to Hong Kong for a transfer, and then from Hong Kong to Taipei. It was past 9 in the evening when I arrived at Taoyuan Airport. I was dragging a big suitcase filled with salted duck eggs, bacon, and a bunch of local specialties that my mother insisted I bring. When my husband came to pick me up at the airport, he was so happy to see me like this. When I first arrived in Taipei, to be honest, I didn't feel that it was very new. There weren't all buildings and a lot of traffic, which was similar to Wuhan, but I gradually found that it was different. For example, there are a lot of motorcycles here. Taiwanese people call motorcycles motorcycles. They are all over the streets and alleys, and people are very disciplined. They really stop at red lights, unlike our place where red lights are just advisory. The place we live in is in Zhanghe District, New Taipei City. It is a small apartment that my husband bought more than 10 years ago. Although it is not big, it is only more than 70 square meters, but it is clean and tidy. There are also a few pots of orchids on the balcony. My husband said it was given by his mother. Speaking of my mother-in-law, I was quite scared at first. After all, there are differences in culture and customs across the strait. The first time I went to my mother-in-law's house for dinner, I want to laugh when I think of that scene now. My mother-in-law prepared a large table of dishes, including stir-fried water spinach, 3-cup chicken, braised pork rice, and dishes I had never seen before. My mother-in-law kept saying, "Try it." I was stunned for a long time before I realized that she wanted me to try it. I was very nervous during that meal. I couldn't hold the chopsticks steadily and even got soup on my new clothes. What I am most uncomfortable with is the eating habits here. Mainlanders love to eat breakfast, while people here like to eat bread with milk tea. When I first came here, I felt weird watching my husband eat raw oats with peanut butter every morning. Now I'm used to it and I've fallen in love with the old-fashioned bread here. It's soft and sweet, just like it's completely different from what I have at home. There are so many breakfast shops here. They open at about 4 or 5 in the morning. There are shops selling bread sandwiches and various pasta. The most interesting one is the egg pancake here. It's a thin pancake with eggs rolled in it. You can also add ham, corn, and cheese. At first, I wondered, isn't this just Shandong pancake? Later, I found that the taste is completely different. The ones here are lighter. When I first came to Taiwan, I had a hard time buying anything. I remember that I wanted to buy a pack of sanitary napkins. I went to the store and couldn't explain what I wanted for a long time. Later, I gestured with my hands for a long time before the clerk understood and said with a smile, "Oh, you want sanitary napkins." It made me blush. Many things are called differently here. Toilet paper is called toilet paper roll. I couldn't figure it out at first. Speaking of taking out the garbage, it really made me realize the rules of Taiwan. You can't just throw away the garbage here casually. You have to wait for the garbage truck to come. At a fixed time every night, the garbage truck will come by playing music, just like the ice cream sellers in mainland China. Everyone waits on the roadside with their garbage. The garbage must be sorted. Recyclable garbage and general garbage must be separated. If you sort them incorrectly, the cleaning team will scold you. At first, I thought it was very troublesome, but after a long time, I got used to it. On the contrary, I think it's good this way, and it's really responsible for the environment. What I can't stand the most is the weather here. Jingsu is really hot in summer, but at least it is dry heat. Taipei is stuffy and humid all year round. It feels like the clothes can never dry. It starts to rain in April and May every year, and it can rain for several weeks during the plum rain season. When I first came here, I kept complaining that life was unbearable and my clothes were all moldy. Later, I learned that people here all use clothes dryers. No wonder you don't see clothes hanging on the street. However, the winter in Taipei is much better than in Jingsu. Although the temperature is only about 10 degrees, it is not as damp and cold as in Jingsu. The funniest thing is that people in Taipei are particularly afraid of cold. They dress like dumplings when it's only 10 degrees. When I first came here, I laughed at them. As a result, after living here for 2 years, I also became afraid of cold. As soon as winter comes here, I wrap myself in a cotton padded jacket. What surprised me most was the medical system here. When I was in mainland China, I had to wait in line for a long time to see a doctor, and the cost was not cheap. I didn't know until I came to Taiwan that it is so convenient to see a doctor here. After I got a health insurance card, I basically didn't have to pay for seeing a doctor. The registration fee was only a few dozen new Taiwan dollars. And the doctor is very patient with patients, and he will explain everything in detail. Once I went to the clinic with a cold, the doctor asked me a lot of questions for most of the day. I thought he was too long-winded, but later I realized that he was serious unresponsible. However, there are some strange things about seeing a doctor. When people in mainland China are sick, they like to get an IV drip, thinking that it will heal faster, but doctors in Taiwan rarely prescribe IV drips, and they all take medicine to regulate their bodies. I was not used to it, thinking that taking medicine alone is useless, but my husband said that all doctors here are like this, and injections and IV drips are the last resort. Now that I think about it, there is no need to keep injecting things into the body. The most interesting thing is the experience of going to the night market. The night market in Taipei is very lively. There are still crowds of people at 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening. There are Shilla night market, Raohi night market, Natia night market, each with its own characteristics. I especially like to eat the snacks here, KEZ. I fried large intestine wrap, small intestine, and fried chicken. The taste is really amazing. At first, I was still worried about hygiene issues, but I found that the vendors here pay special attention to hygiene, and the government also checks strictly. It is much cleaner than I imagined. Once at Raohi Night Market, I was eating and suddenly wanted to go to the toilet. It is very troublesome to go to the toilet in mainland China. Either there is no toilet or it is very dirty. But here, you can use the toilet in any convenience store, and it is very clean. This really touched me. I think this is truly for the people. Speaking of convenience stores, it opened my eyes. In mainland China, convenience stores are places to buy snacks and drinks, but here, convenience stores are simply omnipotent. You can send express delivery, pay water and electricity bills, buy tickets, and even print and copy. The most amazing thing is that you can choose to send things you buy online to a convenience store and pick them up at any time. This kind of convenience is really unimaginable. Living in Taipei for these years, I like the pace of life here more and more. Although Taipei is also a big city, people live very leisurely. Companies do not work overtime as much as in mainland China. On weekends, people like to make appointments to go outings or have a good rest at home. People here don't seem to like to compare, and they won't ask you how much you earn or how big your house is. What touched me most is the quality of people here. Few people make loud noises in public places. When getting on and off the escalator, they know to stand on the right and let the people on the left go. On the bus, people often give up their seats to the elderly. Once I accidentally stepped on an ant's foot on the MRT. Not only did she not get angry, but she said sorry to me and said that she was standing too far away. This kind of cultivation is really admirable. Looking back now, the past 10 years of life in Taiwan have really made me grow a lot. In Jingzhou, I was just an ordinary clerk, thinking about buying bags and cosmetics all day long. After coming to Taiwan, I have experienced so much and I have become more open-minded. Now I care more about the quality of life. I like to climb Yang Mingshan on weekends or ride a motorcycle to Tamsui to watch the sunset. What makes me feel happiest is that my mother-in-law treats me very well. I remember one Chinese New Year, I cried secretly in my room because I missed home so much. When my mother-in-law found out, she asked my husband to book a plane ticket to take me back to Jingzhou without saying a word. She said that it is normal for a girl to miss home when her home is so far away. This thoughtfulness really touched me. Now every time I go back to Jingzhou, my mother-in-law will specially prepare a bunch of Taiwanese specialties for me to take back, such as pineapple cakes and nougat. Enough for the whole family to eat for a while. Now and then, I see some comments from mainlanders on Taiwan online saying that this place is backward and the construction is not good. I want to laugh. These people have never been in Taiwan. Although the buildings in Taipei are not as tall as those in Shanghai and the roads are not as wide, the quality of life here is really good. What is important is not the surface brilliance, but how the people live. Over the years, I have also gradually learned to speak in a Taiwanese accent. Okay, and is that so? Come out of my mouth. Friends say that I am becoming more and more like a Taiwanese. In fact, I think this is not a deliberate change, but I have lived here for a long time and naturally integrated into the lifestyle here. As the saying goes, the benevolent are at peace with the benevolent. I have found my own happiness here. That's all for today's video. If you think what I said is interesting, please like and follow me. Your support is my biggest motivation to update. Thank you.